Hello and welcome to Thomas Geiger Car. Today with the Ford F-150 Lightning, the long-awaited electric version of one of the most important cars in the world. Because since almost 50 years, F-150 is the best-selling vehicle in the US, and it is a kick in Tesla's ass. Since the Cybertruck is still in the making, this car will hit the road later that spring. If you want to know what to expect from the most important electric vehicle of this year, join me on my test drive and I'll tell you more about it. On the first look, the F-150 Lightning looks like a traditional pickup as we know it since half a century. Bold, muscular and well-rooted in the tradition. While Tesla is sending us into the space with its Cybertruck and Rivian is thinking more about Captain Future than Billy the Kid, this is traditional Detroit style. It is heavy metal, used and well rugged, developed and sourced in the tradition. Yes, we have the black plastic grille instead of the big chrome plate, and the designers have been playing with the lights, adding an LED bar that makes the car visible in the night and makes it unmistakable electric. But overall, this is Detroit at its best and a very traditional cowboy car. At least until we look at the key fob, because there's one button more, and if we press that twice, we'll see the biggest frunk in the industry. 400 liters and a load of 400 pounds make this a really useful, really versatile stowing compartment. We have power outlets here, and same as we know it from the Mustang Mach-E. This is sealed, so you can put dirt in, there are some drains and you can spray it out. You can even carry your ice cubes in there and have cold drinks while other people are having a party at the charging station. When we look around in the standing car, there is a big difference between an F-150 Lightning and the startup companies' trucks like the Rivian R1T or especially the Tesla Cybertruck. While these startups are going way beyond anything we have right now in the interiors and giving us a very futuristic experience, Ford is sticking to the traditional way of building a car, because this car is an everyday car. That's not a fancy toy for the rich ones and for the electric elite. This is for Joe Average, the car that every farmer should drive. So they don't want to push them too far. Yes, it's all very modern. We have digital cluster instrument. We have that huge screen here, bigger than any iPad. We have voice recognition, all the stuff, and we have, compared with the other traditional F-150s, lots of power outlets, not only USB A and C and wireless charging for your smartphone. No, you have many 120 volt, or in Europe later on maybe even 240 volt plugs. So all the power capacity, but the layout and the look of the car in the interior is pretty traditional, and it is huge. You have to look for really big SUVs like a Mercedes GLS or a BMW X7 to find a car with so much space in the interior. Even a Volkswagen ID bus looks pretty small for the driver and the people in the second row compared to the F-150 Lightning. When driving the F-150 Lightning, it feels like any other truck on the first sight. You got a big car, you're sitting high above the street, you're feeling like the king of the road. It's a bit like a cowboy herding his cattle when you're in heavy traffic. It changes dramatically once the road opens up and you press the throttle, because this car is more powerful, has more torque than any other F-150 before. 1050 Newton meters of almost instant torque gives you a feeling of driving a sports car. 0 to 100 in less than 5 seconds. That's Porsche style and definitely not pickup. Yes, F-150 Raptor is a sporty car as well, but this comes with a big bang, with lots of noise, with lots of spectacle, while the power here is effortless, smooth, and most of all, a silent power. But don't get me wrong, even if it has sporty figures, this car isn't a sports car. It's still 5.50 meters in length, almost 3 tons of weight. and it is a very smooth setup for the suspension and the steering. So there's lots of rolling in the chassis, not too much feedback from the road. It's a powerful cruiser, not a sports car. Talking about specs and figures, we're sitting in the top model, almost $100,000 as the price, having two motors with 580 horsepower in total, the big battery 130 kilowatt hours, and a range of 570 kilometers. If you go for the entry model, which is a sensational price of $40,000, so about the price of a Volkswagen ID.4, half the size, to compare it with, you always get two motors, in this case 452 horsepower, again the same torque, so 1050 Newton meters, and a smaller sized battery of 98 kilowatt hours, equaling a range of 360-370 kilometers. A bit of a problem is the charging. Yes, you can charge from 10 to 80% in about 40 minutes, but the system runs on 400 volts only, not on 800 volts. That means the maximum charging power is 150 kilowatts, and that's way below competitors like Hyundai, Kia, not even to mention Porsche and Audi. That gives you a real disadvantage on the superchargers in the country and may piss people off, but that is the price you have to pay for the low entry price and the fast entrance to the market, because Ford's main goal was finally to beat Tesla and to bring the F-150 Lightning on the road way ahead of the Cybertruck. If we're talking about the F-150, we're talking about mass market. All the Teslas, all the Porsches, all the Audis, the Mercedeses and all that stuff has only been for the electrical elite. Here we're talking about the car for Joe Average, the car that every American could or would drive. The F-Series, especially the F-150, has been the best-selling car in the US for almost half a century. 45 years on the top of the statistics, with more than 1 million cars sold in the best years. And even last year, with the supply chain shortage, it has been more than 600,000 cars. So we're really talking about the big deal, the mass market, the main American car here. No wonder that Ford is really excited, and no wonder that they already have 200,000 orders in the books. Even now they stopped taking orders because they just want to build these cars first, and that will take a while since they have a production capacity of only 150,000 cars a year. That means export to other markets could take a little while, because even if Trump is not a president anymore, the rule of America first is still on, so they will feed their mass market first before they consider exporting the vehicle to other countries. To appeal to the mass customer, Ford is aiming to make the F-150 Lightning at least as good as the traditional F-150. So when it comes to towing capacity, hauling capacity, off-road capabilities, this car is exactly as good as you know it from the conventional F-150. But to change people's minds, Ford is making use of the advantages that the electric mobilities are offering. That's A, for the driving performance, a feature we'll talk about in a minute, but that's B also from the energy you're carrying around. The big battery has a capacity of 130 kilowatt hours, and that is not only enough to drive for more than 500 kilometers, the estimated EPA range is 320 miles, equaling with 570 kilometers. No, that's also enough to power an average household for 3 days. So the car can not only take the energy from the grid, it can give it back. And since power outage, blackouts, power shortage is a real issue in rural America, this is a USP for that vehicle. And we're not only talking about blackouts or hurricanes, seasons and situations. No, it's just making use of the energy where the grid is not available. Going out to the off-roads, going out on your farm, power drilling, power digging, using your camping gear, charging your e-bike. All that stuff is available if you're carrying around your own power plant and you have outlets in and out of the car everywhere. In the front, on the platform bed, in the back, in the interior. So power available, and it's lots of. Thanks for joining me on that first test drive with the new Ford F-150 Lightning. A car that really will shake up the EV market, not only in the US, but maybe even around the globe. After serving the elite only with cars like Teslas, Mercedes, Porsche, Audi, and even with Hyundai, Kia and the Volkswagen Group, this car is first appealing the mass market and looking to the average buyer. A low price, high versatility, durability and specs that makes this car useful for the everyday driving will really shake up the market here in the US. And since there are no emissions, you don't have to have any bad feelings if you want to drive this car through London, Berlin, Beijing or Rio. So once the demand slows down in the US, I'm pretty convinced this car will hit the roads of Europe, Asia and South America as well.